Chadwick, the backstory. Kate knocked on the door of Nelson's house. She knew this conversation wasn't going to be easy, but she had to have it. The door creaked open slowly, and Nelson appeared in the doorway. "Oh my, it's my beautiful Kate! How are you? Come in, Nelson said. His tone felt like he was talking to a 5-year-old. Kate freaking hated how he talked to her. "Thanks. Nelson, look, we need to talk. I'm going to be honest and upfront. I don't know what we are. After your party, Eve and I hung out with Chadwick and Doug. Chadwick and I really hit it off. He's a sweet guy and so genuine. I'm coming to you first because we have had, well, whatever this is for the past year." "What? I'm not sure. But I wanted to tell you face to face," she said, clearly uncomfortable with the conversation. Kate looked at Nelson. His face was red, and she swore she could see smoke coming out of his ears. "Flippin' Chadwick? Chadwick?" Nelson screamed at Kate. "How dare you violate my trust and hang out with those two idiots?" "Look, you went to bed. What was I supposed to do?" Kate asked. "Not hang out with them. Go home and go to bed. Anything respectable, which those two losers know nothing about. I can't believe you, Kate. I gave you everything I had for the past year. All of the presents, all the fancy dinners. I did everything for you. You cannot leave me for Chadwick. I hate Chadwick. I'm so much better than him in every way," Nelson screamed at Kate. Kate was taken aback. Why was he so focused on Chadwick? It seemed like Nelson didn't care about their relationship as much as he cared about Chadwick. Nelson was staring at her. His eyes almost seemed red. Kate tried to understand how much of a shock this must have been. "Look, I know you're upset. I need some time to think, Nelson. I have so many things running through my head. I just need some time. Please give me that so I can think. Okay?" Kate pleaded. Nelson responded with a cold stare. "I promise you, if you leave me for that moron, that buffoon, that piece of, well, you will regret it for the rest of your life. I promise," Nelson said in an angry voice. What a weird thing to say, Kate thought. She understood how quickly this all happened. She knew that Nelson was hurting. Why is his focus on himself? Why not us? Presents and dates are great, but I also need someone to listen, Kate thought. She said goodbye to Nelson, stood up, and went home to think. While all of this was playing out, a bigger question was evolving. Who was Chadwick? Why was he the way he was? Why did Nelson hate him so much? All these questions could be easily answered with a simple flashback, if we only had one. What is that? Wait, we have one? We're doing a flashback? Sweet, okay. Hey, readers, let's take a flashback and see how Chadwick got to where we are now. We know Chadwick was born to Elvin and Amelia Brockingsworth in the town of Red Lawn Cove, California. The two got married while Elvin was still in law school. Amelia supported them by working as a waitress. When Elvin got a job at a law firm, Amelia immediately quit her job. Their focus became starting a family. They wanted 3 or 4 children. But sometimes, when you get a first one like Chadwick, this second one seems like less of a blessing. Hence, Chadwick has no siblings. On September 19th, 2001, Amelia was at home when her water broke. She called Elvin and got a ride from her neighbor to the hospital. Amelia had contractions for 5 hours before Elvin was able to get away from work. He needed to go home and got lost in an episode of Law & Order, delaying his arrival to the hospital by 2 hours. When Elvin arrived, Amelia was ready to deliver their baby. What timing. 27 minutes later, Amelia gave birth to an 11-pound, 7-ounce baby. Elvin picked up his newborn son, nearly dropping him, and handed him to Amelia. The parents were so happy. When they were asked to name their child, the answer was easy. Chadwick Vladimir Brockingsworth. This was the beginning of our hero's story. Chadwick grew up quick. He was 8 months old when he said his first words. Unsurprisingly, that word was brah. When he turned 2, he started reading books on nuclear physics and having discussions with Dennis the butler. He also started taking things apart, including Elvin's work laptop. Every day with Chadwick was an adventure. When he was 3, Amelia set up a playdate with the family down the road. This was the first time Chadwick met Doug. The two built a treehouse with a working elevator in one afternoon. This was just the beginning of their friendship that has not faltered since. Amelia and Elvin were just happy that Chadwick had a friend. And Doug was a very nice young boy. When Chadwick entered elementary school, things were different. He didn't care about letters or colors. He spent most of his days bored in school. He started wearing a pair of aviator sunglasses to school every day, simply so he could sleep in class without anyone knowing. Chadwick easily passed his first few years of school with zero effort. In 3rd grade, things changed. Chadwick became more mischievous. This started with simple pranks, but ended with Chadwick gluing Doug's hand to his head. This was when it was decided that some testing needed to be done. Chadwick was taken to a psychologist and given a heavy round of testing. This was the only way the school would let him return. Chadwick spent 6 full days being tested by Dr. Arlo Bresloff at the Red Lawn Cove Center for Psychology. After days of testing, Dr. Bresloff sat down with Elvin and Amelia in his office. Mr. and Mrs. Brockingsworth, thank you for coming. We've done extensive amount of testing on your son. We've found no issues with any of his tests. He has no issues, mental, cognitive, or otherwise. Your son is what we in the industry call lazy. He doesn't want to do a damn thing. He was such a pain to test. He just called me brah, and we would have to coax him, Dr. Bresloff told them. He pulled a piece of paper out of a folder and handed it to them. That's your son's IQ test score, he said to them. They read the paper. At the top, it listed Chadwick's full-scale IQ at 246. 246? Is that a typo? Elvin asked. Dr. Bresloff shook his head. No, we tested it 11 times, he said. Your kid is a frickin' genius. That is the 2nd highest IQ ever recorded. I thought I made a mistake the first 4 tests, but no. Cut right here, redo that. I thought I made a mistake the first 4 tests, but no. He's super smart. He's just super lazy. He has a gift. Good luck. You're gonna need it. Chadwick, while lazy and worry-free, was also a genius who simply didn't care enough to apply himself in any situation. After the revelation, Chadwick continued to live his life how he wanted. He maintained good grades, simply because everything was too easy. In middle school, he was offered a chance to take some classes at the high school. When he was asked, he just said, nah, and walked away. This was also when Chadwick met Nelson for the first time. The two were both entered in the science fair. Nelson made a diagram of how the volcanoes on Earth were changing over the millennia. It was a well-put-together project, and in most cases would have won. Chadwick had no interest in the event, so he quickly made a new rocket design and drew up a blueprint. His blueprint not only won the science fair, it changed how NASA was going to approach their entire space program. Nelson, who got 2nd place, was furious. He promised himself he would never lose to Chadwick again in his life. Nelson had no idea how wrong he was, but he would learn time and time again. Their freshman year of high school, Nelson was the president of the science club. He ruled with an iron fist, only letting the people he wanted into the club. Chadwick didn't care. He had no interest in the science club. Chadwick was too busy being Chadwick. While Nelson was trying to make himself seem important and smart, Chadwick was just too busy being Chadwick. Nelson gained a reputation as a mean-spirited bully. Chadwick, meanwhile, gained a reputation as the life of the party. He got along with everyone, even if he seemed directionless. They were polar opposites. Nelson focused all of his effort on being better than Chadwick. Chadwick paid no attention to Nelson, other than giving him the nickname of Stinkleman. At Redlawn Cove High, Chadwick was convinced to come out for the football team his senior year. He had always been the best athlete in the school. He had simply just chosen to not play any sports. Chadwick decided to join the team on a random Tuesday and was the starting quarterback after one practice. When Chadwick did something, Doug followed and became the starting center due to his mass. The two became instant stars, leading the team to a conference championship and a playoff berth. Redlawn Cove High hadn't made the playoffs in 27 years. Chadwick led the team into the playoffs and capped it off by winning the state championship. The school erected a statue of him. Everyone loved Chadwick, except Nelson, who spent all of his time in the background stewing. His hatred for Chadwick was growing stronger, second by second. No matter what he did, Nelson simply could not beat Chadwick. When it was time for prom, Nelson secured a date with a girl named Beatrice. His interest was not in her, but rather looking respectable at prom. As Nelson stood at his locker, glaring at Chadwick, Beatrice walked up to talk about prom. "Hey, Nellie, what color tie are you going to get?" she asked. "What? I don't care. Just shut up and don't talk to me. You're lucky anyone asked you to prom. I'm just going with you to look good," Nelson snapped. Beatrice ran down the hall crying. She was sitting next to her locker with her face covered when she felt someone sit down next to her. "Brah, B, sup?" Chadwick asked her, seeing how upset she was. "Oh, Nelson was just being difficult. I feel like he doesn't even want to go to prom with me, honestly," she said sadly. Chadwick nodded. "Brah, I'm going with a big group. You should come with us. It'll be fun," Chadwick offered. She looked at him, smiled, and nodded. That would be amazing. Thanks, Chadwick," she replied happily. That was how Chadwick stole Nelson's prom date, even if that is not the story Nelson would tell afterward. At graduation, Chadwick was the top of his class with a 4.333 GPA. Nelson, on the other hand, was second in the class behind Chadwick. This was due to Nelson receiving an A- in his 10th grade PE class. Nelson gave a speech at graduation, going over all the moments he had in high school and all the things he had done. It was a well-written speech, but was received rather flatly. Cut right here. The second speaker was Chadwick, who went up with no prepared speech. He spent 11 minutes telling amazing jokes, talking about everyone in the class, and letting his charisma flow freely. Chadwick received a standing ovation. Yet again, Nelson was fuming. He hated Chadwick more than anyone knew. More than maybe we even know at this moment. All of the hatred, all of the anger, it had to go somewhere. Nelson, simply put, was a ticking time bomb. Nelson received a partial academic scholarship to California University of Sciences. It was his only offer. Chadwick, on the other hand, received numerous offers. He was recruited by numerous Division I football programs with full scholarships, 74 to be exact. He also received academic scholarships to various universities, including Ivy League schools. 3 days after his graduation, Chadwick's phone rang. It was NASA. They wanted Chadwick to start working for them immediately while attending college on a full scholarship. Chadwick literally had the world at his fingertips. Was he going to be a NASA scientist? An NFL quarterback? Maybe an actor? Who knew? Alvin and Amelia were sitting in their kitchen waiting to see what Chadwick had decided to do. He walked in the room, chugging a River Rage, and looked at his parents. "Brah, what?" he asked them. Amelia spoke first. "Chadwick, you have all these offers. You must be so excited. Your father and I are here to help. What are you thinking about doing?" she asked. "Brah, beach today," Chadwick replied. No, not Today, your future, son, Alvin interjected. Chadwick looked at them with a focused look on his face. Brah, I said beach. That is my future, he replied as he walked out of the room. This was how a man with a 246 IQ was living in his parents' basement and doing nothing with his life. Now that we know how we got here, it's probably time to check in with Chadwick. He's with Doug, of course. Brah, we need some more wood, Chadwick said. The two were building a ramp. Brohim, I don't know. Do we have a strong enough base? Did you do those calculations right? Doug asked. Chadwick looked at him. Brah, yeah, I'm a flippin' genius, Chadwick responded. The two were building a ramp to ride Jethro off of. The ramp may or may not have been aimed into Mrs. Drummond's yard, with her prized rose bushes yet again in the line of Chadwick danger. As they prepared their jump, they saw a small black car pull into the driveway. Kate and Eva got out of the car and walked toward the two of them and their ramp. Chadwick was sitting on Jethro, revving his engine. Doug had his phone out to record. Hey guys, what in the hell are you doing? Kate asked. No worries, Chadwick is going to jump this ramp, but I'm taking a video, Doug said, explaining something that was already obvious. Hi, Doug Bear, Eva said. Doug smiled at her. Chadwick then revved Jethro's engine, holding the brake down. Billowing smoke filled the air. Chadwick let go of the brake and shot forward. The ramp was built perfectly. Chadwick hit the ramp full speed and flew off of it. Jethro cleared the rose bushes, but smashed into the Drummond's mailbox, destroying it. Chadwick stood up, laughing. There was mail everywhere and splinters from the ruined mailbox. Doug cheered while Eva clapped. Kate couldn't help but smile at what she had just witnessed. Alvin immediately ran outside and handed Mrs. Drummond another envelope of money. Doug and Eva hopped into her car and headed to get ice cream, leaving Kate and Chadwick alone. Kate looked at Chadwick. That was a pretty impressive jump, she said with a chuckle. Brah, thanks! So sup? He asked her. Look, I came to talk to you about everything, Kate said. She was worried how he would respond, based solely on how Nelson had acted earlier. Chadwick looked at her and nodded. Brah, cool. Just as long as you're happy, it's all good, he replied casually. Kate was shocked. What? How is he so chill? Kate wondered. Look, Chadwick, you're an amazing guy. I've never seen a person who looks at the world the way you do. You're so carefree and yet you listen. It's just, I don't know. I've had to do a lot of thinking. I talked to Nelson and he was upset with me, she said. Brah, Stinkelman, Chadwick replied. I don't know. You're such a fun person to hang out with. I shouldn't have kissed you the other night, but it just felt like I had to, she said. Brah, yeah, Chadwick replied. I really like being around you, and I hope that we can hang out a lot more, especially since Eva is dating Doug, she said, hopeful. Brah, yeah, that would be cool. Think they will get married? Chadwick asked. What? They've been dating for like a week, Kate asked, clearly confused. Brah, sometimes when the pigeon finds a cool rock, it goes to space, Chadwick said. Or stated. Or something. I'm gonna give Nelson a chance, Kate said as she looked down. Brah, cool, I hope it works out for you guys, Chadwick replied. I still want to be friends, Chadwick. You're still an amazing guy. And I want to be your friend. I want you in my life, Kate said. Chadwick stuck out his hand. Brah, shake on it, Chadwick said. Kate laughed and shook his hand. Kate, you're an awesome person. Just find whatever makes you happy. The two sat in Chadwick's yard, staring over the ocean as the waves came in. Kate felt safe and happy. She was just glad that Chadwick was being so chill about everything. As Kate stood in her bathroom getting ready for a date, she had a knot in her stomach. She picked Nelson. Was Nelson the right choice? Kate wondered. She felt like Chadwick listened to her and what she had said. Nelson, on the other hand, had simply flipped out and focused all of his hatred towards Chadwick. Kate had a ton of second thoughts, but she also felt like she owed Nelson a chance. He had a good job, a house. He was doing very well. Chadwick was unemployed and lived with his parents. Nelson had motivation and got things done. Chadwick just eased his way through life, getting lucky every time with how things turned out. This seemed like a simple choice, yet it felt so hard. Had Kate done the right thing? Time would tell. Hey, thanks for finally showing up, Nelson said to Kate, looking at his watch. The reservation's at 6:15 and you got here at 5:45. Everyone knows you need to be 45 minutes early to this place. The fancy restaurant Nelson had taken her to wasn't really Kate's cup of tea, but she was trying. She smiled at Nelson. How was work today, Nelson? She asked. Long. Look, I don't want to talk about work. Did you tell that buffoon that you won't ever see him again? Nelson asked. Kate looked at him. I told him that I'm giving us a chance that I'll still be his friend, Kate said. No, you won't. You are mine, and I will not allow you to see him ever again, Nelson snarled. Kate just nodded as she ate her pasta, with only one thought running through her head. Yikes. After a dinner where Nelson ignored everything Kate said and babbled on about himself, she was ready to leave. A waiter brought out a cupcake to Kate. She took her fork, cutting into the cupcake. Something hard was inside. What was it? Kate looked on in horror as she pulled an engagement ring out of the cupcake.